Well, it's time now for Perspective. My guest today, Alain Gresh, is a French journalist specialized in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, also the founder and editor of Orient 21 and an online media outlet focused on the Arab world. Alain, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.
So at the start of this latest conflict between Israel and Hamas, there's a largely semantic debate on whether or not Hamas should be described as a terrorist group. How has the notion of terrorism in your mind varied, and what are the consequences that evolution has had on this conflict?
You know, very often the use of terrorism as a label for an organization is a political stand. It's not an objective stand. I mean, we know that the National Liberation Front of Algeria was considered as terrorist. We know that the African National Congress was considered by United States and Great Britain as terrorist. We know that the PLO was considered long for Israel, and then they accepted to negotiate. So I don't like this formulation because it doesn't explain anything. The problem is what is the organization is asking, what it is fighting for, and what are the reasons for the fight. And the use of the term terrorism is a way to say we cannot debate. They are terrorists, they are bad people, and we are the good people, and there is no solution except eradicate them. I mean, this war on terrorism was launched by George Bush in 1991, and it is a total failure. So the problem now is not is Hamas terrorist, not terrorist, is what is the political solution and what are the problems in the Middle East and especially in Palestine.
Only the EU and 8 other, primarily but not only Western countries, designate Hamas as a terrorist organization. Not even the United Nations uses the label. So how do you explain such a radical divide in the way that this group is perceived?
As I said, it's a political stand to support Israel. When you say Hamas is a terrorist organization, you support the position of Israel to say we want to eradicate Hamas. Hamas got 45% of the Palestinian vote. We cannot eradicate such an organization. In the future, we will have to negotiate with them. Some people say, oh, but they don't recognize Israel. But in the Israeli government, there are many people, they don't recognize Palestinians, they refuse the Palestinian state, and everybody say, I mean, every Western country say, we recognize the government of Israel. So it's really a double standard.
You argue, kind of staying on the theme of double standards, you argue that the daily terror of the Israeli government is just as harmful. So I want to know, for you, is there no difference then between Hamas's methods and the Israeli government?
No, I mean, it's not the same. I mean, first, I mean, the possibility of Hamas is a possibility of non-governmental organization. Israel it's a state. And Israel, I mean, we don't realize, but Israel has killed in less than 1 month more than 11,000, 12,000 people. I mean, I don't remember any conflict in which so many civilians have been killed in a so short period without any reaction. So again, I will not say it doesn't serve to say Israel is terrorist, Hamas is terrorist. Again, let's come back to the core of the conflict, which is the occupation. And the fact that for more than 60 years, West Bank, Gaza, and East Jerusalem has been occupied territories. And the international community is saying there must be a state in these territories. But what are they doing for this? We have settlement now every day, and with the support of the European Union, with the support of the United States. So if we don't take a very strong stand against settlement and for evacuation of the occupied territory, we will have the same. I mean, the war will finish one time of this war, and we will have a next war in 1 year, 2 years, 5 years.
Your most recent, actually, before we get to your most recent publication, I do want to ask you one more question about Hamas, because in some of your more recent articles, you talk about how the term has evolved, how organizations like the ANC were once considered to be terrorists. But part of being, without having a judgment of whether or not they're terrorists or not, part of being a resistance movement as they define themselves is also to garner somewhere the sympathy, if not the support, from the international community. It doesn't look like Hamas is looking to gain more international support or legitimacy through its methods. So they don't seem to be efficient in that way.
Yes, I agree with this, but we must come back to, I mean, when there is calm in the West Bank and Gaza, nothing happened. It's not the fact that when you don't have, for example, in West Bank, Hamas is very weak. And now, before the 7th of October, there are tens of people, civilians killed by the settlers, by the army, etc. So it's not as if you don't have Hamas, we have the Israeli government who is ready to negotiate. No, we have an Israeli government who considers all the West Bank and East Jerusalem as part of Israel. And this is the core of the problem.
So to speak then, to change gears a little bit, in your latest publication, you describe a silent turn in France's traditional stance on the Israeli-Palestine conflict. There's been a significant evolution from the times of Charles de Gaulle to Sarkozy and now to Macron. How do you explain this gradual transformation?
Yeah. I will say, I mean, the transformation is ambiguous in the sense the French government say we have always the same position. We are for a two-state solution. We are against settlement, etc. But what has changed since more or less Nicolas Sarkozy is the fact that before the French policy was to try to find a solution, to have a voice, and to say we cannot have normal relations with Israel as long as the occupation continues. Now, since Sarkozy, we are considering that we can have normal relations with Israel and we don't have to pressure them. And this is important. I think the way we are looking, I mean, the way the French government is looking to the conflict has changed fundamentally. Before it was a fight between an occupying power and an occupied people. Now it is through the glass of the war on terror. And the idea that Israel is a part of the war against terror and we must support them. And this makes that the fact that we have supported this massacre we, the French and the Europeans, have supported the massacre in Gaza without saying anything.
So in that sense, do you think, we've just got a little bit of time left, but do you think that the terror attacks, the series of terror attacks that occurred in France then contributed to changing public opinion and the government's opinion on? At
least the political class and the French government. I'm not sure on the public opinion. We can have discussion about it. It's more complicated because I think there is a very strong solidarity movement here in France with Palestine.
Alain, Gresh, that's unfortunately all we have time for today, but thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you.